The flowers arrived at 7 in the morning, a massive arrangement of white lilies, no card, no return address, delivered to the front gate by a courier who left before Victor could ask him a single question. White lilies. Funeral flowers. Victor carried them straight to the study rather than let them anywhere near the main house, setting the vase down hard enough that water sloshed over the rim. You know what these mean. Don Romano stared at the arrangement for a long moment, jaw tight. The Castellano family. Only they still bother with symbols instead of bullets. There's more. Victor pulled a small card from his pocket, one he'd found tucked behind the vase, easy to miss unless you were looking. 6 words, typed, no signature needed. Asterisk we remember what you took. Asterisk Don Romano's hand tightened around the edge of the desk. 20 years ago, a war between his family and the Castellanos had ended with a peace neither side had ever truly accepted, only postponed, and a debt neither side had ever agreed on who actually owed whom. They're not asking for a meeting, he said. This is a warning shot dressed up as flowers. There's more than the card. Victor's voice dropped. One of my contacts near the docks confirmed movement. Castellano men, unfamiliar faces, 3 of them, watching the export routes we run through the harbor. Not hiding especially well. They want to be seen. They want me nervous. Are you? Don Romano didn't answer right away, which was answer enough. By mid-morning, the household had shifted into a rhythm none of the children had seen before, extra men at the gate, the shutters on the ground floor windows drawn despite the daylight, Victor's phone buzzing constantly with updates. Don Romano insisted on hearing the moment they came in. Sophia found him in the study, the lilies now gone, removed the moment he'd finished examining them. Emma asked why there are more cars outside than usual. Tell her it's nothing. I'm done telling her it's nothing, Marco. We agreed. No more filtering. Sophia crossed her arms. What's happening? He exhaled, some of the old resistance finally giving way under the weight of the promise he'd made her weeks earlier. The Castellano family sent flowers this morning. Funeral flowers. A message about an old debt from before you and I ever met. Are they going to move against us? I don't know yet. That's the truth, not something softened for you. He rubbed his eyes. It could be posturing, testing whether I still remember the fear they used to put in men 20 years ago. Or it could be the opening move of something worse. And the kids? Stay close to the house. No unscheduled trips, nothing outside the usual routine, until we understand what we're dealing with. Sophia nodded slowly, and for the first time since making him promise to keep her informed, some part of her almost wished she didn't know, but the larger part, the part that had packed a suitcase weeks ago, was grateful to be standing in the room instead of finding out later from someone else. Lucas noticed the tension first among the children, the way Victor stayed unusually close during the drive to school, the way the front seat conversation that had become routine turned quieter than usual. Something's wrong, Lucas said, watching the extra car trailing them at a careful distance. Something's being handled, Victor corrected. Different thing. Is it the same people who sent the camera? Victor's hands tightened slightly on the wheel, a tell Lucas had learned to read over their weeks of batting cages and quiet honesty. Different family. Older grudge. Don't worry about the details. You always say that. Because the details aren't yours to carry yet. Victor glanced at him. But I won't lie and tell you nothing's happening. Something is. Your father's handling it the way he handles everything, carefully, and without letting it reach this car. That evening, Don Romano called a meeting in the study, not just Victor, but 2 of his most trusted men from outside the house. The first time in over a year the inner circle had gathered under this roof instead of at the warehouse office downtown. Sophia stood in the doorway rather than leaving entirely, a small but deliberate act of the new arrangement between them. The Castellanos want a response, one of the men said. Ignore the flowers, and it reads as weakness. Respond too hard, and we hand them the war they're fishing for. Then we respond precisely, Don Romano said. Not loud. Not weak. A message that says I remember exactly what happened 20 years ago, and I'm not afraid to remember it out loud if they force my hand. And the men watching the docks. Increase our presence. Don't engage first. I want eyes on everyone who comes near that harbor, but no one throws the first move without going through me directly. Victor studied him carefully. You're being more careful than I've seen you in years. I have more to lose than I did 20 years ago. Don Romano's eyes flicked briefly toward the doorway, toward Sophia standing there, toward the quiet sounds of Emma's laughter drifting faintly from somewhere upstairs where Maria was reading her a bedtime story, unaware of the tension humming through the rest of the house. 20 years ago, this was just business. Now it's a house full of reasons to make sure I don't lose control of the board. Later that night, after the men had left and the house had settled into its uneasy quiet, Don Romano stood at Emma's door, watching her sleep, the new smoke detector overhead humming faintly, watching nothing but the ceiling. Sophia joined him silently, slipping her hand into his. "Are we in danger?" she asked, quiet enough not to wake anyone. "I won't lie to you. There's a chance." He kept his eyes on his daughter. "But I promise you this, whatever comes from those flowers, it will find me standing between it and this house before it ever reaches her door." Sophia squeezed his hand, and for a long moment neither of them said anything else, just stood together in the doorway of their daughter's room, two people who had built an entire fragile piece inside a war neither of them had started. Somewhere across the city, in a house far less warm than this one, a man studied a photograph of the Romano family taken from a distance, Emma laughing on the porch, Lucas at the batting cage with Victor, Sophia and Don Romano standing close together at the gate. He set the photograph down slowly, satisfied. The flowers had done exactly what they were meant to do. Now it was simply a matter of watching how carefully the man on the other side chose to move.